Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is a deep dive into the seats that Kamala won at the election in America. And something bizarre that I noticed. Now, before the election, there was a lot of talk about voter ID. And they have, because the states basically set their own rules, each state can have different rules in how they run and operate their elections. Some states do quite a normal thing and ask people to present photographic ID. Some states require nothing, you just go in and vote. And there's some in the middle where you need to produce something, non-photographic ID, like a bill. You could turn up with a bank statement or a utility bill, which doesn't prove that's you, it's just got a name and address on it, and vote. So there's three different systems for ID, and there's some slight variances in them from state to state and what is acceptable and what happens if you don't have IDs. But the three main categories are: need nothing, just go and vote; do you need full photographic ID, or you just need to take a piece of paper saying that's you. I would suggest the full photographic ID is probably the safest, right? And walking in with no ID is not so clever. So I've had a look at the 20 states that Kamala won and wanted to identify which processes they used. So I've got them in a spreadsheet here, and we'll put them into alphabetical order. 2 seconds. Right, there we go. So there's the 20 states, and loads of them no identification. Some of them you don't need photo identification, and only one state that Kamala won, you actually need full photographic identification. So if I sort them into ID, so there you go, you have 15 out of 20 that she won. You don't need a single thing. You just walk in and vote. And 4 of them, you need to take in a piece of paper saying that's you. You could take in your dad's bank statement and vote. And in one single solitary state that she won, you need to produce photographic ID. Now, what I thought was quite peculiar, when I put the spreadsheet into the winning gap, right? 7 of her biggest winning gaps, and that's ones that she won by 17 points or more. Some of them by 84 points. That was DC. Nothing. You need 0. You can walk in and vote. And in the 7 biggest margins that she won in the night, which ranged 17, 19, 22, 23, 25, 32, and 8, it's amazing, 84 point gaps. Nothing. You just walk in. The other peculiar thing, if you look at the opposite end of this chart, the smallest one, the smallest victory she gained was New Hampshire. And I didn't bother with rounding with these, I just looked at it, it was 50, 48, so I put that down as a 2. But to be fair to her, it was a massive 2.8, right? She won her smallest margin, and the only state she won, you needed voter ID, photographic voter ID. The other amazing stat, right? This is bonkers. There are only 16 out of 50 states that you can walk in, right? So the rest of them have sort of caught up with modern society where you need voter ID in some of them and just a piece of paper in others, right? But out of the states that you don't need anything, in total, there's 16. Kamala won 15 of them, right? It's just... Am I making suggestions here? Well, not really. I just find it humorous. I find the whole thing, I find a lot of things peculiar about the American election and the processes, right? And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or good or bad. It's just different from how we do things in the United Kingdom, where you need photographic ID. And I'm not suggesting anything that's any, well, I am, right? Did they want foul play? Possibly. There's been suggestions in the past, and I find that incredible. The biggest issue I have with accepting that there's, these sort of things go on in the American elections is my desire not to believe that in Western society we get up to that sort of stuff. I believe Western society should be the bastion of democracy and fairness and laws and rules and all that, right? So for my head to accept that there might be some jiggery pokery going on here is a big leap for me. I don't want to take that leap. But I'm kind of thinking, am I the daft one here, right? Because the information I'm looking at on my computer right now is a bit odd, right? So, out of all these states, right, that Trump won, there was only one that he won that you could just walk in with no ID and vote. Out of the 16 states, you can just walk in and vote. Kamala won 15 of them, right? And what I find odd is it's the gaps, right? The ones that she won were some of them are huge gaps, right? I don't think Trump won a single one near the sort of figures that some of the ones she won. And I just find that odd, right? But I don't understand, right? Put my hand up here. I don't understand fully the voting principles and how it works in America, basically. I kind of get a rough idea. I can look and go, Vermont, yeah, I kind of understand. There's probably not much industrial stuff going on up there. It's probably middle, higher, upper class. And that, well, she shouldn't, right? If you go back and what Democrats were all about, I kind of struggle. But the people that are voting for them today, I can understand why some areas would vote for them, and the sort of middle America, vast bits of land, farming, all that sort of stuff would vote Trump. I kind of understand that, right? But I can't understand how in some of these areas, like Vermont, there's a 32-point difference in votes, right? It was like 60 to 70% she got, and Donald got obviously like 30 or something, right? That just, I'm like, what? And this is another thing I consider, right? Before the election, anyone you spoke to that's got better understanding of American politics than me and how the voting works, right? They always said the same thing. There's a chance Trump can win this, but he will not win the popular vote. But he smashed the popular vote. And the only place that Kamala had any hope of that, and the ones that drove loads of numbers to her, were these 15 out of the 16 that she won that have no voter ID. You kind of go, well, if we had no voter ID in the whole 50 states, is that why maybe some people thought she would win the popular vote? But now we've got so many now where you actually need to take identification in. And Donald won all of them, right? She won one state, and that, let me remind you, was New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, I would have thought would have been kind of Vermont, where you've got a big gap there, right? 2.8%. That was it. It was the tightest seat she won. And it was the only seat she won where you need voter identification. And, what do you read into that? Whatever you want, right? Am I going to sit here and say that the ones without voter ID might be a bit iffy? Well, of course, there is that option and perception. And I think it would have been intriguing to consider what the results would have been if you needed voter ID in every state. Would she have won 20? Would she have won by margins like 84, 32, 25, 23, 22, 19 and 17 points? Because these are all massive margins. In states, you have no voter ID whatsoever. Won them by a landslide. make your own mind up. I find it incredible that the leading power in the Western Hemisphere, you can just turn up. And and there's other things. See, even the ones where you do need, like, you can get in without, you can challenge it. And all you need to do in America, in the majority of the states, there are variances, right? And I'm not going to go through them all because there's 50 of them, right? But you can actually turn up and say, I don't have any ID. What do we do now? And you sign an affidavit. If I wanted to cheat the voting system, I kind of wouldn't care about signing that piece of paper. It wouldn't stop me, right? But I'm not that way inclined, right? But I can imagine people would sign a piece of paper, right? So even in some places, like New Hampshire, let me just tell you, where are we? New Hampshire. Voters in New Hampshire must present photo ID at polls. If the voter is unable to present a valid form of ID, a poll worker will take a photo of the voter and attach it to an affidavit, which must be signed by the voter. Exceptions are provided for those who object to being photographed for religious reasons. So, even the ones you won, if you didn't have your photo, the only ones you won where you needed photo ID, you'd sign a wee piece of paper. Get a Polaroid taken. There you go, you can vote. So it doesn't stop you in that one. Now, the other ones will be different, right? Because they're all slightly different. But there you go. 16 states in America, you don't need ID. Kamala won 15 of them, right? And out of the 20 that she won, one needed photographic ID. 15 out of them needed nothing, and 4 you could walk in with your dead uncle's phone bill. But welcome to America. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe and the notifications bell. Put your comments below. That's always good fun. But most importantly of all, if you're one of these crackpots that's going and standing in buildings in Britain, complaining about a democratic vote that took place in a different country, foreign to you, not you, but
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.